Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a subject that is absolutely central to our lives, to our communities, and to our future. And yet, it's something we often don't talk about nearly enough. We are diving deep into reproductive health.
You know that old saying, health is wealth, right? And yeah, it's true, but that's not the whole story. There's this whole other layer to our well-being that's about more than just avoiding the flu. It's physical, it's mental, and it's also social. And that's exactly where we're headed today.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to kick things off by defining what we even mean by reproductive health. Then we'll get into the serious consequences when there's a lack of awareness. After that, we pivot to solutions, the tools for family planning, the complexities of termination, the amazing science that can help, and finally, how to protect yourself for a lifetime. Let's do this.
Okay, first things first. What is reproductive health? I think for a lot of people, the term brings up images of biology class. But trust me, it is so much more than that.
I mean, just look at the official definition. It's not just about your body working correctly. It's about a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. That means it covers everything from having a safe and satisfying sex life to having the actual freedom to decide if, when, and how often you want to have children. That's a game changer.
So knowing the definition is great. But to really get why this is so critical, we have to look at what happens when that knowledge is missing. The stakes are incredibly high for individuals and for entire countries. The first and most obvious consequence is unwanted pregnancy. And this isn't some small thing. For a couple that isn't ready, it can create this massive wave of personal stress, financial strain, and completely alter the course of their lives.
And when you zoom out, that individual problem starts to multiply. Lots of unplanned families can lead to population growth that puts a huge strain on a country's resources. We're talking everything from the food supply to jobs and housing.
And then there's the most heartbreaking consequence of all: death. When people don't have access to information and basic health care during pregnancy, the risk of death for both the mother and the baby just skyrockets. And the tragedy is, so much of this is preventable. Remember that social part of the definition? This is a really powerful and frankly disturbing example. In some places, the cultural pressure to have a son is so intense that it leads people to misuse medical technology for illegal gender-selective abortions, a practice that's known as female feticide. It's a devastating problem.
Okay, I know that was heavy, but the good news is there are solutions. This isn't a hopeless situation. So let's shift our focus to empowerment and look at the toolkit that exists for family planning. The options really break down into a few main groups based on how they work and how permanent they are. You've got natural methods, which are all about timing. You've got barrier methods, like condoms that create a physical block. Then there are hormonal options, like pills and IUDs that work inside the body. And finally, you have surgical methods, which are permanent.
If we zoom in on hormonal options for a second, you can see it's a real trade-off. On the one hand, they are incredibly effective at preventing pregnancy and can even help with things like painful periods. But on the other hand, they can have side effects, and you have to be really consistent about taking them for them to work properly. It's all about making an informed choice that's right for you.
And then there's sterilization. This is a surgical option for people who are 100% certain they don't want any more children. For men, it's a vasectomy. For women, a tubectomy. The key word here is permanent. The procedure literally cuts and ties the tubes that carry sperm or eggs, so it's a very definitive decision.
All right, now we have to turn to a really complex and sensitive topic: medical termination of pregnancy, or MTP, which you might also know as abortion. This is an area with huge legal, ethical, and personal weight.
So MTP is available for very important reasons. It can end an unwanted pregnancy, or it can be absolutely vital if the mother's life or the child's health is at risk. But as we've already touched on, it has a dark side. It's tragically misused for gender selection, and on top of that, the social stigma can push people towards unqualified practitioners and unsafe procedures, creating another huge health crisis.
Now, let's totally switch gears and talk about the flip side of this coin. What happens when a couple wants to have a baby but is struggling with infertility? Well, this is where science steps in with something pretty amazing called assisted reproductive technology, or ART.
So what is ART? It's basically an umbrella term for all the different medical procedures that are designed to help with infertility. It's the technology that gives nature a helping hand when it's needed most.
Probably the most famous ART method is IVF, the test tube baby. And when you break it down, the process is pretty logical. Step 1, you collect eggs and sperm. Step 2, you combine them in a lab dish so fertilization can happen. Step 3, that new little embryo develops in a controlled, safe environment. And finally, Step 4, a healthy embryo is transferred back into the mother's uterus to grow. It's pretty incredible stuff.
Now, it's really important to remember that reproductive health isn't just about making babies or not making babies. It's about your health over your entire lifetime. And that brings us to the critical topic of preventing sexually transmitted diseases, or STDs.
So you have infections like gonorrhea, syphilis, and of course HIV/AIDS, which are mostly spread through sexual contact. And this is where condoms are like a dual-action superhero. They are a great tool for preventing pregnancy, and they are the primary method for preventing the spread of these infections. But again, we run into that social barrier. Stigma often stops people from getting tested and treated early, which is so important.
Okay, so let's boil all this down. What are the big takeaways here? Healthy families often come from planning, thinking about the spacing between kids, making sure mothers get good nutrition, and considering the right age to start. For those who face challenges, know that science offers real hope. But if there's one thing to remember from all of this, it's that awareness is everything. It is the absolute first step toward empowerment.
At the end of the day, reproductive health isn't just about biology or public policy. It's about informed choice. It's about giving every single person the knowledge and the power to shape their own life. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As our knowledge grows and our technology gets better, what will the future of that choice look like? For all of us, thanks for joining this explainer.